This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Telly. You have a prepaid call from
Kevin Hunt.
an incarcerated individual at the Calipatria State Prison, Calipatria, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello,
Hello?
Kevin.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it
Sure.
going? I want to go ahead and welcome you back to you have a collect call from. We're gonna go ahead and get on with your story, with your journey. This is gonna be part 2. Unfortunately, it's been over a month since the last time we spoke. Just to unfortunately, it was due to something that was completely out of our hands, and we'll go ahead and place the blame with on that on GTL. And it seems like they somewhat resolved like those technical glitches and whatnot that they were having over there on their end.
Yeah. They've for the last few weeks they've been tweaking it here and there to get things resolved. I think a lot of it has to do with the companies that were bidding over it. They're trying to use each other's platforms or something like that. But I don't know all the details. But I do know for the past few weeks it's been a lot better compared to how it was.
Yeah, it definitely sounds a little bit better than previously, because before we couldn't even make out some of your the words you were speaking when you were going through your journey.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You guys are better though. It's good to be back on. For sure.
100%. Yeah, I was eager, to bring on some new gentlemen, to share their journeys with us, and you're one of the first, so far you've been the only one to come on from Calipatria State Prison. So oh, you know what? And I actually forgot to mention something to you. I was speaking to David, and he wanted me to let you know that he sends his, and then he was also telling me that he wanted me to mention to you that his celly is Jesse Nava. He said that you were up in.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You were up with him up in Corcoran.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If you don't recognize his name, I'll tell you who he is. Once we're off the air, if Jesse Nava doesn't ring a bell, and I'll tell you exactly who he is. But yeah, they both
sure.
send their regards over to you.
That's awesome. I hope they're doing good. I know David, when he was here with me, he was really working really hard. So I'm happy to hear he's succeeding. In his new place. New destination.
Yeah, he definitely tapped in with the right people over there. People that are definitely on a positive journey and trying to change their lives around, and they're always sharing with me what they're currently doing and what their plans are when they get home, and some of the things that that have transpired during their time in the system, from 20 years ago up until to where they're at now. So it is a huge drastic change from where they're at one point in their life.
Well, it is. I remember when I first came in and I was doing time when I was running around my old affiliations, and it was for almost 18 years of prison time. No one was telling me to go to group. No one was telling me to get my GED. Nobody was telling me to go to college. No one was telling me to stay sober. No one was telling me I should never put a knife in my hand. No one was telling me to stay away from the gangs, and don't do drugs, gamble. It was all, everything for the gangs, So, no one wanted, those in higher places didn't want to see us succeeding. Didn't want to see us bettering ourselves. Didn't want to see us sober. Didn't want to see us keeping our money for ourselves. And they surely weren't going to be doing things in the yard, so they were just using everybody, victimizing everybody, you know. And for a long time, it was just chaos and destruction. But for now, the prison system, I think CBC, they get a lot of, you know, grief, but overall, I think the environment that they created for people who were sincere about changing their life it's really starting to play out. It's really starting to have an impact. And more people are starting to buy into the R on the end of CBCR, the rehabilitation, you know? And they're starting to do it for themselves. They're starting to do it for their families. And I think it's going to take a while for people on the outside to see the sincerity. But I think over time, you know, hopefully with more and more people that are going home, especially people that are coming out of life, and people in the public, you know, citizens seeing us do good and succeed, or maybe you can start changing some of these draconian laws, you know, that are keeping people in here for a long time. But only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? Let me ask you something. Do you guys ever speak about, because you know these laws, you know they could change at a moment's notice whenever you know and a new administration comes in. Do you guys ever worry about that? Do the lifers worry about that they're not gonna have enough time to get through those doors before, if just in case something changes?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think so I run some groups. I facilitate a few groups, and I'm in some others. So I have a chance to sit in with a lot of people that are doing life, and I think there's some that are just overwhelmed by the idea of having life, and or just not really ready to change, and they kind of really don't take it serious. But there's a lot of lifers who do, and who are sincere, and who are being proactive about their recovery and going home. And some of them are. You know, I was just with the gentleman that just paroled, named Paul, who he went home. He'd been down 27 years, and when he went up for board, he got embunked, and the governor didn't want to sign off on his release because of the way that the murders were, that he committed crimes, and but they were testing him, they wanted to see how he was going to act, and so I know that had an effect on some of the other lifers that were getting ready to go for board, and I know some of them were kind of discouraged because they felt like maybe the lawmakers or board members or the governor was playing games. So on some level, I do think so. I do think they are worried. But the ones who do get out, the ones who do overcome, the obstacles, the imprisonment in life, they prepare for the future before it presents itself. Like they put in the work for things that haven't even arrived yet. So that way that they're ready. And I think those are the ones that succeed the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, doing the work before, because I'm pretty sure that there's people that are not able to go home yet, but if they're on the right track, once those laws change, they'll be the first ones, at the door, ready to head on out. So, definitely gonna be, on that
for
path.
Sure, because it's like how many times a lot of us in here we kind of shot ourselves in the foot our whole life over and over and over, and it's like I don't know, maybe some people have never really had opportunities here and there, but I think most of us have had more opportunities in life than we would like to acknowledge or give ourselves credit for. And I think those who are able to put in the work today reap the benefits tomorrow, and it's just what I've seen,
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I don't want to overlook, our listeners and the watchers here. We have Amber in here. She writes, "Hi, baby, I love you. Third time's the charm." There it is. She said it.
Yeah, yes, sir. I love her so much. She's a major major focus of my life. She is the focus of my life. She inspires me every day. You know, I try to tell her, but everything I do, it's all for her and our family. You know, my main inspiration in life is my wife and family.
And you know what? I'm glad she popped into the chat because I had totally forgot to put your picture up on the screen. I just went ahead and did that. And we also got some of our other viewers here, showing support. And I want to go ahead and give them a shout out. We have Mad Max 408. We also have M Star Media, and they're both giving us shout outs and saludos and all that good stuff. And then so for right now, that's
Thanks.
Oh, you know what? Right now, Mad Max
Support.
Mad Max put Mad Max 408 put that he had a K number, so
Yeah.
he can definitely
I
relate
got a
with
K
you.
number 2.
Yep.
So it's so he was a 97, 98 baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and as a matter of fact, sorry, I didn't even see that. Yeah, he's asking. He said Kevin got locked up in '97? ?
Yeah. One more time.
So he said, Kevin got locked up in '97? ?
Yeah, yes, sir. The end of '97, the first term. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he can definitely relate with you. You guys were in the system at the same times. Maybe even possibly cross paths.
Maybe it's a small world in here for sure. And the system was a lot different than than it is today for sure.
Yeah.
Night and day.
And do you remember? You remember the last time we spoke? It's been over a month now. If I remember correctly, you were speaking to us about the first time you met your stepmom. Would you mind?
So after my parents divorced, were separated. When I was a kid, my mom stayed out in the desert area, low desert, it was like Palm Springs, Desert Hot Springs area. And my dad stayed in San Diego in East County, Lakeside. And for a few years there, I was living with my mom and my brother out there in the desert. So my mom got into some trouble. And after
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
My grandmother had called my dad to come pick me and my brother up, and he came out to the desert and he brought us back down to San Diego. And that night I remember him sitting down in front of the TV and putting on a Disney movie and telling me to watch my brother. Why are you going to go pick up my new mom? I had never been there. I didn't know what I did. I didn't see my dad in a few years prior to that. He was in the hospital. She came home, she had a South Patterson. She was in love almost. Understandable. But I had no doubt she knew she got spun out. Tried to stop. Like her going away all the time. It was a sad story, but she shot herself twice with a .380. Put the gun under her chin and pulled it once, and fortunately, it didn't kill her. And she woke up from that and decided to try to do the job again and grabbed the gun and pulled the trigger. My dad ended up finding her and rushing her to the hospital and saving her life, getting her the help that she needed. And it was a long recovery, but it changed her in a lot of ways. Made her really strong. Made her grateful for life. She's a really wise woman. It's just drugs make us do some shameful things sometimes.
You know what? And I just want to confirm. What I heard, because the audio was right when you were speaking about your stepmom. When like that.
Have 60 seconds remaining.
The actions that she did, that ended her up in the hospital, and I believe you said that she put a gun to her chin, and she tried to shoot herself.
Yeah, she shot herself. She shot herself the first time with a .380, and the bullet bounced off her teeth and went outside of her face. and then knocked her out. When she woke up from that, sometime later, she realized she didn't do the job. She tried to do it again, and it pretty much did the same thing, but the other side of her face. And then she fell out. My dad ended up finding her like that, hours later, still alive, luckily,
Wow. And I know our 15-minute call is about to come to an end. If you could go ahead and give us a call back, and then we'll go ahead and continue.
Yes, sir. Yes,
right,
sir.
Perfect. Thank you. Man, just to think about what somebody must be going through, that they would even attempt to do that. So do that to themselves. And she seems like. She was determined. I mean, she tried it twice. It didn't work the first time, and she tried to do it the second time, and even the second time. So, what are the odds of that? Not happening or happening, depending on how you look at it. And with that type of caliber of weapon that she was using, so she's definitely she was very definitely fortunate to be able to live through an experience like that. I'm sure when the medical bills started coming in, I'm sure it was a whole different story, because when you're trying to attempt to do something like that to yourself, you're not thinking about medical bills.
This call is now being recorded.
Link. You have a prepaid call from
Kevin Hunt,
an incarcerated individual at the Calipatria State Prison, Calipatria, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tail Link.
Hello, Kevin.
Hello? Yeah. Yes, sir.
So right now, when the call got disconnected, I was mentioning to the viewers right now that it seems like she was, determined to do, what she wanted to do, but it just you just never know what somebody's going through, for somebody to attempt to take an action like that, and then even to try it, even to try it a second time after the first time is not successful. It just kind of showed her determination. But man, she definitely wasn't meant to go to the afterlife. Definitely life had a different plan for her.
Yeah, for sure. She thought, she had went through a lot, she was very, former head to help Angelo use the president, and she kind of grew up in that lifestyle, and, bikers didn't always treat their women the best, most of them didn't. They treat women and children kind of foul, and, it was cultural. A lot of things were cultural, and so some things seemed normal that shouldn't have been. As far as domestic violence, and the drugs and abuse, mental and physical, because there's multiple forms of domestic violence and abuse. And so she had went through a lot, before my pop, and she was broken, in a lot of ways broken, and self-medicating, and just spiritually kind of broken, and when she did that, in a lot of ways, after she recovered, it made her grateful for life. It made her really patient and really understanding. She was easier to talk to in a lot of ways than my dad. I found that me and her bonded more than I actually bonded with my own father.
That's definitely interesting. So, prior to there, when you went to pick her up, or you went with your dad to pick her up, that was the first time you meeting her?
Yeah, that was the first time I met her. I was young. Some things are a little hazy, but I do know, like, my mom and dad had a lot of animosity towards one another, at the time. And my mom was kind of spiteful. She's a little spiteful person back in the day, so she kept me and my brother from my dad, so there was a lot of things. We didn't have no contact, so we had no way of really getting to know her, me and my brother, or even being able to spend time with my dad for a few years there until she was jailed, And then my dad finally picked us up and he brought us home. That's where we lived for a while until my mom was back out of jail again, you know.
And do you remember how much time your mom spent in jail?
Oh, it wasn't. Initially, it wasn't. I don't remember it being super long. I know she had got out. I think maybe a year and a half later, and unannounced. I'll never forget it. As I remember, she and my uncle, her brother, showed up. They drove from the desert all the way down to San Diego without telling my dad, and she thought she was just going to barge up into my dad's house and grab me and my brother. And the apartment that we were living in was kind of small, so I remember my brothers would sleep in their bedroom, and my parents had theirs. And being that I was the oldest boy, I had the the hide-a-bed, unfolding beds out of the couch. I used to sleep on that the hide-a-bed in the living room. And I remember my dad, like in the middle of the night, opening the door, and he was arguing with my mom and dad, and I remember him pushing me off to the side, but they thought they were going to barge up into the house and just take me by force. And my dad grabbed an M16 and shot a couple rounds off over my uncle's head, I'll never forget the night. I thought he killed my uncle. But, so they came back. They ended up getting busted that night. I remember my dad went to jail, went on the run for a couple days. They ended up catching him that night. They caught my mom and uncle, and they put him back in jail for a little while too. And I stayed with my stepmom down in San Diego for a couple of years, almost a year and a half for that, until my dad got out.
All right, Kevin. Oh, it went. Your audio went silent there for a quick moment.
All right. Will we leave off?
Where you had just mentioned that your father had shot over your uncle's head, and then he was ultimately arrested. Yeah.
So my dad, trying to defend his house and trying to. I don't know, he was all pumped up, egotistical himself. He wasn't going to let my uncle and my mom just barge in the house and grab me and my brother, So they were thinking they were going to either take us or take us by force one way or another. So my dad went and got the M16 and gave him a couple warnings, I guess. But they proceeded to try to come in. So my dad popped a couple shots off at him, And they ended up busting him. They ended up taking all three of them to jail,
So since everybody ended up in jail, what ended up happening to you?
So me and my brother, for a little while, we stayed right there with my stepmom in Lakeside for like another year and a half, which was awkward. Because Dad wasn't around anymore, and she had a lot of animosity towards my mom after everything like that. So we were kind of like, in some ways, me and my brother Keith felt like outcasts. I mean, he was really, really little. But we definitely didn't get the same treatment as my stepbrothers did, And so we stayed there for a little while. I think right before my dad got out, about a year and a half later, we went and stayed with my grandmother again for a bit. And then finally, after my dad got out, we moved back down there with him in Lakeside.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what age was this again?
I think we were about 10. I was about 10 years old at the time when all this was going on. 10, almost 11 years old.
So you were still young.
My brother. Yeah, I was still a little guy, My brother was probably about 5, 6 years old. So I'm supposed to be 10, Still young.
And during this time, when you're living with your stepmom, are you going to school? Are you being fed well?
Times were tough. I think she was on welfare at the time and selling drugs on the side to make ends meet. We were fed, but we were kind of poor too. we definitely weren't living high on life. You know, I was going to school, going to elementary school. My brothers were going to school. That was really it. It was just a lot of time right there in the apartments with the neighbor kids and school and back home. You know, there wasn't really a lot of excitement or anything events that were going on during that time. You know, we didn't really have the money, and the family wasn't really connected in ways that they should have been. You know.
Yeah. So when was it that you started like having issues with or did you have any issues with the law when you were in your teenage years or younger?
So yeah, I for the most part growing up, I pretty much knew right from wrong. You know, I knew what was causing the problem with everybody. It was drugs. You know, I seen it. You know, people getting high. And it wasn't hard to tell that was people's demise. You know, and I hated it. I hated drugs when I was a kid. I just hated what it did to the family. You know, I hated how they made people. I just didn't like drugs. You know, and as a kid, not having
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
not a lot of avenues. My only way out of that was through sports, you know. And so I dove into baseball and football. That's all I did. You know, I carried around baseball gloves or football everywhere I went. And I played a lot of football and baseball during those years, all the way up into high school. I was the only kid out of all my friends that didn't use drugs at the time, and mostly hard drugs. You know, I'd drink here, smoke weed here on the weekends every once in a while, but I hated it. You know, and when I got into junior high and high school, all my friends, all the neighborhood kids, you know, their parents used, and the cycle was passed down, and so they started using, and I hated it. And so I went to high school, gung-ho on trying to get out of the neighborhood to baseball or football. It was my freshman year. I got into some trouble at high school with the vice principal, and I got kicked out of school. So, you know, I ended up going to juvenile hall for a little while. It was the first time I went to juvenile hall for some beer runs, and then I got back out. I was on house arrest, and I tried to go back to high school, but it just didn't pan out. You know, I was getting into a lot of trouble with my dad. We weren't seeing eye to eye on things, so I ended up leaving home, running from house arrest, and going on the run. And I ended up getting into it. I don't know, I was on the run for about 6 months, and I ended up getting caught. Some sheriff tried to arrest me, and I ended up getting into an altercation with him and taking his billy club from him and hitting him with it. And I ended up going to jail, juvenile camp, for almost a year and a half at that time.
And let me ask you, what juvenile facility was this in, and what county or city was it in, if you remember that?
So it was San Diego. Yeah, it was San Diego. I went to juvenile hall in San Diego. Middle Arch Lane was the address. And then from there, they sent me to a place called Campo, Rancho del Campo. It was like a youth camp, you know, like a juvenile youth camp. It was like one step down from like a YA or like a Vision Quest style. It was up in the mountains, and they had like numerous different corrals or buildings designed to treat delinquents for various reasons, either drugs or psychological abuse, you know. And you would go into one of these buildings, and the counselors would give you therapy upon, both physical and mental therapy on top of education to try to rehabilitate you, you know. I was there for about a year and a half, and I got out when I was about 17 and a half years old.
Wow, they would hold you there for up to a year and a half. That's bananas. You know, in LA County, it was either between 6 months up to 12 months. A year and a half. Wow, that's a bit of a stretch.
Well, the whole process from the time I got busted, all the way, even that's including some of the things that went through the juvenile hall, it was about a year and a half into the camp. I think camp was maybe around a year, but it took about 6 months to get out of juvenile hall.
And when you were in juvenile hall, what was your experience like? You know, walking in there for the first time.
Juvenile hall was a trip. I mean, it was like Lord of the Flies, you know. You got a bunch of crazy kids. I was definitely it wasn't like really like prison, but there was a lot of gangs. You know, a lot of people testing each other. You know, kids just trying to prove themselves, testing other people. You know, trying to make other people prove themselves. You know, when you went in there, it was definitely you needed to put up or shut up. You know, and you learned real quick if you were going to be submissive.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
You're going to kind of get the losing end of the stick, you know. And I watched kids get bullied all the time, and they didn't want to, defend themselves or fight back or prove themselves, you know. But if you went in there and you were willing to punch somebody in the mouth who was giving you a hard time, the odds are the other kids were going to back up off you, you know. So, it was easy to tell what you needed to do. You know, I went in and I had a couple altercations, and after that, it was pretty much smooth selling for myself, you know.
Yeah. So if you want, go ahead and give us a call back, and we'll go ahead. Hopefully the audio gets better, because it's definitely been it's better than last time, but it's still not up to the level that we would like it to be. But hopefully on the next call it clears up.
I got you, buddy.
All right, cool, perfect, thank you. And yeah, I think that's the biggest, the most frustrating part about this is that GTL, pretty much they have a blank check from the state, and I'm sure they're getting paid millions. They're getting paid well, to offer this service, and I it's clear that nobody's getting the service that the state's paying for. Yeah, and I know some people might be saying, well, yeah, it's free. Like, why are you crying over it? It's, for me, it's like tax dollars are being spent on it. Somebody's getting rich off of it. At least provide a service that's going to work. Like, the whole reason, they're offering these phone calls is so, these gentlemen could connect with their families, friends, and with whoever they want to speak to. And they're definitely not doing that.
This is Global
This
Telling.
call is now
You
being
have a
recorded.
prepaid call from
7 Hunt.
an incarcerated individual at the Calipatria State Prison, Calipatria, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, Kevin.
Yeah.
So
You
know
there?
what? Yeah. So I just read Amber's message. She put the phone has been perfect. WTF. I'm guessing maybe that right now the phone, the system's being oversaturated. A bunch of people are jumping on it at the same time, and obviously their servers can't handle that amount of people. So man, it's definitely it sucks because taxpayers are paying for this service. The state of California has a blank check, or GTO has a blank check, provided by the state of California, and GTO is not keeping up with their end of the bargain.
No, they're not. They're not, and it's unfortunate too because there's no excuses. They have all that money all the time. They, I don't understand it. Like, if you're getting paid to provide a service and you have the money, you wonder why they're just not coming in and doing their diligence, and making sure that the customers are happy, and for them not to do it, it's just kind of like they just don't care. It shows that they don't really care, It's just all about that money,
Yeah, and it's a trip because it's not like they just started, offering this service today, yesterday, or a year ago. They've been in the game for, I would say, at least over 20 years, providing phone service, and
at least.
And they service facilities throughout the country. From prisons to local county jails, youth facilities, juvenile facilities, everything. So you would think by now they should have been with the advancements they have made, with broadband internet and fast internet connections. They should have been bringing HD quality, voice quality. We should have been able to hear you like you're right next to me.
Yeah, you would think. I don't get it either. A lot of us in here. That's everybody's in here kind of perplexed by it. But we're kind of limited on what we can say and do in here. We don't have a lot of access or resources to make these complaints or requests to the company. We kind of get short-stopped by custody, and so we're just kind of like, we're at basically their demise, like whatever they decide is what it is for us, we can't really make an argument. Unfortunately, we have to rely on custody, or we have to rely on you guys to kind of help us in that regard,
But then too, you got to think about it. They have a blank check. The state of California they're gonna get paid regardless whether the service works or not. As you can see, it's been going on for months, and if they were about that business, they would have handled this. They would have cleared all this stuff up. But I jump on Reddit, which is an online forum where people share information, and everybody's talking about it, that the service in California is just garbage.
Really? Wow. Yeah, so we don't even know. We don't get to hear any of that, That's kind of crazy. I think that there's even some kind of like publicity on it. People are talking about it, and still they're refusing to make the adjustments they need to. It's just complete disregard, It's a shame. It's a shame. I don't know even what to do,
Yeah.
But, they definitely need to figure it out.
I know somebody had mentioned to me that at some places in the past they've had like their family members and even themselves not put money towards a tablet. They weren't buying music or videos, and that might get somebody's attention.
Well,
but
I posed that question, I was like, I tried to tell everybody in here, because I did the math on the visiting, and then I did the math on all the messaging, and I was just kind of like rounding.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And there's literally like thousands of dollars being generated every day from these visiting and messages and pictures, and if we just stopped doing that, it would definitely turn their head. But trying to get everybody to buy in on that is another thing, and when you do stuff like that here, though, they kind of like staff will kind of get you in. They'll deal with you a certain kind of way, because you're starting to mess with their money, and you're starting to mess with things, and they don't really like people who organize sit downs or facilitate uprisings in any kind of way,
Yeah, and I would see the concern with anybody that's trying to get home, and their name gets out like that. It'll probably cost them their them going home. So what's the bigger picture? Them going home or worrying about some phone calls. So
yeah,
I can definitely.
So then there it is. There, that's the thing. So we're kind of like at their mercy. Like whatever they decide to fix it, or whatever they decide to do, people, if you want to go home, you just kind of have to just bear with it, and it sucks. It's unfortunate, because at certain times, like, family members will be going through things, and not being able to be there and talk with your wife or your mom or your brother or son when they're going through something is because that's all we have. It's all we have in here, is to be able to provide some input or be in here. And when you can't even do that, it's hard. It makes it real hard. And I can only imagine the stress that it puts on our loved ones.
Yeah, especially like if you have a loved one in the hospital, or they're going through something that's traumatic, and you want to be there, to be able to at least say your final words, or console them in their time of need. You can't even do that because they can't even hear the full message.
No, it's unfortunate. It's sad. It's really sad. I heard somebody the other day was talking about their mom had told them that she felt like killing herself, and this was when the phones were messing up. She hadn't opened up to anybody, but she was opening up to her son, and he couldn't even be there to talk to her about that, And luckily, she didn't do nothing to herself, but it was just like, I watched the stress, I watched him go through it, not knowing from one moment to the next if his mom was going to do something to herself, and it was sad. It was sad,
Yeah, I mean, because pretty much in your situation or anybody that is incarcerated situation, you're pretty much your hands are tied behind your back. You can't do anything. It's like you could run out and save somebody.
No.
You have to rely on these phones that they're not working.
Yeah. Oh, I would never. Yeah, for me too, especially I for a long time myself, when I came to prison, I didn't really put my family or my loved ones first. I put the gang and the drugs and the violence first, and I spent I spent 10 years in solitary confinement. I was validated. All I had was letters. And I was a really ugly person, I was more dedicated to the gang and the cause of the gang than I was my own family and loved ones. And I'm glad I'm not that person today. Today there's no way in hell I would be able to get on the phone and tell my wife or my family that I caught more time, or I got in trouble, or I was back in the hole or shoe again. That disappointment, that hurt that it would cause, I can't ever do that to them again,
Yeah, and it shows your growth, because obviously somebody that's determined to go home and it's growing and thinking or changing the way they think is not gonna go down that path anymore. It's like you've already been there, you done that, and
yeah,
you saw what it was.
Well, when I came into prison, I was young, and I had a chip on my shoulder, and I was mad at the world. I had just lost my best friend. My best friend was murdered, and I came to prison for retaliating his death, I dove all into on this life. Like I said, growing up, I wanted to play football and sport, but when I lost it, and I realized that I wasn't going to be able to go to college and make it out of the neighborhood, I dove all into the lifestyle. I felt like this is what people wanted me to be, and this is what we were going to do. It was like almost destiny. I was going to be that guy, and unfortunately, I cared a lot about what people thought about me. I was real impressionable, and I loved the attention, so it was a recipe for disaster, and when I came to prison, I was prime picking, people seen that, people who'd been around and were running the yard, seen that I was willing to make a name for myself, and they used me, and I didn't know I was being used, but they used me, I was manipulated, and I was told that these rules and this ideology is what I was supposed to believe, and it was the essence of life in so many ways, and if I went against the grain, I wasn't going to be any good, and people who went against the grain were made examples of, and so I went all in on the lifestyle, and for years, that's all I cared about, I thought that's what I was supposed to care about, though. I thought the family was supposed to understand that the game and the life and the politics came first. I thought the wife or girlfriend and the kids were all supposed to understand, because I thought they were living by it too. And it turns out, they weren't, and we hurt a lot of people in the process, and spent years of our life in prison for nothing, nothing. And I think that's, like, for me, the hardest thing is looking back on all the stuff that I've done, all the years I spent in the shoe, and realizing it was for nothing, and being 45 years old now, and not having a home, not having a career, not having the trucks, tools, and toys in the garage, and the memories and pictures on the walls in the hallway, that's hard for me as a man. It drives me, and it keeps me focused because I want these things before I go, and I want to be able to provide these things for my family. So I'm committed to do that when I leave here. But it's hard. It's hard to look back on it all, because who wants to admit that they wasted over half their life for nothing,
And let me ask you something, because just a moment ago you mentioned that you spent years in the shoe. How does being in the shoe, how does it affect you mentally? Were you single celled or did you have a celly?
So when I first went to the shoe, I had a celly. I did have a celly, and the shoe, to give everybody that don't know, the shoes, you're basically in your cell sometimes 24 hours a day, but it's supposed to be 23 hours a day. You're in, a 6 by 15 cell, maybe a little bigger or smaller here or there. You only go outside maybe every other day for an hour. You shower every other day. It was a lot. I watched a lot of people in there from the sensory deprivation go crazy. The walls close in on a lot of people. But for me, it was, I don't know. I guess I was so focused on the politics and so focused on routine. I would get up in the morning and I would work out at 4:30, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and I would drive and I would set schedules. I'd work out in the morning and I would study. After my workout until like 12, and then I would work out again, and it was almost like school, high school. I'd break it off into periods, and I would draw in the afternoon. And
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Watch Jeopardy at 7, and then an evening program, go to bed, and do it all over again. And I focused on the routine. I focused on the...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
So that was kind of how I got through it. But a lot of people back there, I watched a few people kill themselves. A lot of people go crazy. It's not for everybody. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I can't even say that I could imagine, because I couldn't. I just couldn't wrap my head around, being in that type of situation and dealing with the conditions that the state put you in. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, when I first went back there, maybe I should call back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
All right, so 15 minutes were up. The call quality seems to be getting a little bit better. Hopefully it maintains like that. And Kevin could go ahead and continue sharing his journey. And for anybody that's listening, at about I'm expecting a video call from Jesse Nava and David Lopez at about 7:30 or so. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Kevin know this is we'll probably run for maybe like another 10 minutes, because I still have to set up my backdrop over here and move some microphones around and whatnot, and to get ready. But I'm definitely hopefully I'm able to set some more interviews with Kevin this week, and we could go ahead and have him share his journey with us and get into what exactly happened that landed him in prison, and how many this is his first time going to prison and things of that nature. And I know he mentioned earlier on that one of his friends got unalived, and he retaliated because of it, and that's what led him to prison. So I'm looking forward to hearing his journey to redemption.
This call is now being recorded.
You have a prepaid call from
Kevin Hunt.
an incarcerated individual at the Calipatria State Prison, Calipatria, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tailwind.
Hello, Kevin.
You there?
Yeah, yes, I
Yeah.
am. So I just wanted to give you the heads up. So we'll run it for like about 10 minutes or so, just because I have a video visit coming up with David and Jesse at 7:30.
Yes, sir.
But I know you were about to get into some things right before we got that 60-second announcement. If you want to go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I was just saying, when I first went back there, it was different. You know, we didn't have like all we had was boxers, t-shirts, and socks, and a pair of slip-on shoes, like like almost in old school Vans, you know. And we weren't allowed to have anything other than that. Pretty much all of our property was took from us. We had a TV, and then what little you were able to get off the commissary. So, you know, other than a pen and paper, you really didn't have a whole lot back there to keep you busy, you know. So you had to find things. You had to find something to keep yourself from going mad, you know. And it wasn't until like after 8 years of being back there that, you know, we all came together throughout the state, and we started hunger striking for rights back there, you know. And unfortunately, you know, we had to do that a couple times. You know, the first one, most of us, you know, we hunger strike for 3 weeks. We went without eating. The second one was for like almost closer to 2 weeks, and then the third one, before they met our demands, it was like about a week, you know. And after that, things got a little better. We were able to get a thermal. We got, you know, our sweat and some other little cosmetics and packages got a little bit better. You were able to get some things in there to occupy yourself, you know.
Wow, and it's not that many belongings they let you have on there, if that's all you were able to have back there.
Yeah. No, it was pretty bad, you know. At the time, you know, for most of it, we were only allowed to go to the store for like $35, you know, and it ended up becoming $45 before I left. But I mean, if your cellie wasn't going to the store, and we were only allowed to have one case of soups, you know, if your cellie wasn't going, I mean, you were starving back there, you know. Inmates weren't making the trays, the cops were, so they were small, you know, and there was a lot of years of just being hungry, you know. And we'd wake up in the morning and we didn't work out because you had to, but we would save our breakfast and our lunch, and we would have to eat it with our dinner just to get full, you know, so we knew what feeling full felt like, you know. And then, you know, one package a year. Again, if your cellie or you weren't getting anything, it was bad, you know. But in a lot of ways, you know, I learned a lot of discipline back there, and it was back there where I really did a lot of soul searching. And I would say it was like 2012. I got into an altercation with my cellie, and I beat my cellie to death. I was able to bring him back. But it was through that incident I kind of like I realized that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life back there, you know. Going through it with him and trying to bring him back to life, I remember thinking, you know, what was I?
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You know, what was I going to tell my family? My brother had just had a kid and named him after me, with the idea that, you know, they weren't sure I was ever going to come home, so they named his kid after me, you know, so that there would be somebody with my name out there, you know, free. And it was hard, you know. It really woke me up. It awakened me for sure. And from that point, you know, I kind of started looking at things differently. Realized that we were being used as pawns, and realized that, you know, we were killing each other for a gang that was just really reaping the rewards for their like greed for drugs and money. And it really didn't matter to them, you know. They didn't really give a fuck about us, you know. And if we weren't willing to take our future into our own hands. Well, they surely weren't. You know, no one else was. You know.
So just a moment ago, you mentioned that you had sent your celly to the upper room, but you brought him back. How okay, would you mind walking us through that?
Yeah. So when I got validated, when they validated me, I got moved over from one side of the yard to the other, and because of things that were going on at the time and who I was affiliated with, I was given permission to go over there and do my thing, you know, and so I had went over to this other side of the facility with a mission, I guess you could say, and they had moved me in with this guy who was originally from Georgia. He was a biker. He was a vago. He ended up getting busted for a murder in the early 90s and was in prison out here. And the guy was crazy. You know, he had done a lot of meth out there on the streets and spent a lot of time in solitary confinement. And he was one of those that it really got the best of him. And when they moved me in with him, I had no idea who he was. And it was like a few weeks later that I realized this dude, I'm in the cell with straight J-Cast. This dude was crazy, bona fide crazy. But because of the rules and the policies at the time, he couldn't seek, you know, help. You know, he wouldn't have been allowed to. You know, people with mental issues back there weren't allowed to go and ask the doctor for help. So, and it was kind of looked at and frowned upon if you did. So he just was trying to, you know, deal with it the best that he could. But it created a lot of conflict with the other races. And one day, it was Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl. It was the second time that the Patriots lost to the Giants. I'll never forget it. But I had just gotten a package, and we made some wine, some Corona, and we had been getting along a little bit. So I decided that we were going to make some burritos and drink and try to make the most of it back there. And he had told me that after a couple of cups that he was going to go out to the law library the next day, chained up, and make an incident with the other races. And you know, I'm not sure if you know, that was a no-no. You couldn't just go and put hands on another race or make a problem with another race. You had to go through proper channels and get the approval for things. And often then it would be shut down because of the money and the politics. But I wasn't going to let him do that because that would have reflected poorly on me, and it would have made me look bad, you know, and people would have questioned me. So I had told him, like, look, you're not going to go out and do nothing. You know, we're going to resolve it another way. And he proceeded to challenge me, and we had been drinking. So I told him, look, just go ahead and think about it. Sleep on it, you know, and if you still feel this way tomorrow, then we'll get up and we'll do our thing. And he continued and continued. So back there, you know, for us, it was no hands policy. We had to fight with a weapon in our hand. We couldn't just be fighting with your celly. And so if it was serious enough to do something, you had to kill him. And so I told him, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to pull out these knives. And I went to go fish the knives out, and I was going to throw them on the floor because we only had one. And whoever got to it, you know, to make it fair. And when I was getting up to get it, he rushed me, and you know, I ended up knocking him out, and I ended up crushing it. It was pretty bad. I ended up hurting him real bad. Not to be too graphic, you know, but I ended up hurting him real bad, and you know, he stopped breathing on me, and you know, it was a shocking moment. There was blood everywhere. It was a mess, you know, and I remember looking down at him and thinking, like, damn, man, what did I just do? I just killed this dude over nothing, you know, over nothing. And I thought, man, what am I going to tell my people? You know, what am I going to tell my grandma? What am I going to tell my brother when they ask me, my loved ones, you know? Even my wife, we were just, you know, getting together at that time. We were together. You know, I didn't know what I was going to tell her. You know, what was I going to tell these people, man? That I was never going to have a life with her, you know, with my wife, or that I was never going to come home and meet my brother's kid that he named after me. Over what? And it changed me. It made me look at my violence differently. You know, it made me look at how how fleeting life is, you know, and how quickly things can go from being good or bad to real bad. And you know, I got down and I gave him CPR. I used a lot of cold water. I worked on him. I gave him CPR for a good, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. It seemed like it went on forever. I found out that he was drowning on his own blood. So I was able to clear his lungs and get him breathing again. And I picked him up, put him on the bunk, and faced him so the blood wouldn't go down the back of his lungs. And then, you know, the officers, when they came up for count, it was a scene. It was a mess. So they seen it, and they life flighted him out. He spent almost 3 weeks in ICU, and they were going to hit me with the DA referral. Luckily, they didn't. You know, they didn't pursue prosecution because he wasn't willing to work with them. I got lucky, you know, just luck, just pure luck. And by the grace of God, it was another incident. I escaped in here without catching a lot of serious time, you know.
That was definitely fortunate that you know, it worked out the way it did, because we wouldn't we probably wouldn't have been having this conversation right now.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, a lot of it for me, it's been divine intervention, divine intervention. You know, God's been looking out for me, and you know, keeping me alive and keeping me on track this whole time. You know, and you know, I found my faith back there. I did a lot of soul searching back there. You know, I found my way back there. I found out who I was and what I wanted out of life. You know, and what I needed to do. You know, a lot of soul searching back there.
All right, and the audio. Okay, it went out a little bit right there towards
Right.
the end. So for right now, I think this would be good right now, because I just heard my phone ringing, and I believe it's the video visit I got coming in. But I'll go ahead and reach out to you this week. I'm gonna be available, so definitely we could go ahead and continue with your journey. I'm definitely
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
definitely looking forward to that. And then if you want to go ahead and give out any shout outs to any of your loved ones, you're free to do so.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to my wife, Amber. I love you, baby, and I love you more than anything in this world, heaven and back. And I can't wait to see you and hear your voice again. And thank you for having my back always. I love you, baby, and I always appreciate you, always. Thank you, James.
You know, and thank you, you know, for coming on and, you know, and spending this hour with us. I know an hour is not enough. It's going to take numerous hours for us to, you know, to get through your journey. And, you know, once again, you know, thank you for taking time out of your day and, you know, sharing your journey of redemption with our community here. And like I say around here, life's like a candle. Once you blow it out, it lights out. And with that, I'm out. If you want, don't hang up yet. I want to talk to you before we go. So I'm gonna cut the stream right now.
All right, cool. Got you.
All right.